everyone, welcome to this video on weaving satin timber. If you haven't worked through the supplementary video, please do so, as that video goes into more detail about the steps common to weaving all the Kutira stitches. This fifth timber stitch looks a lot like embroidered satin stitch, so I just call it satin timber. I'm about to throw my tabby A weft. Bring my pattern A forward. I'm going to show you the satin timber next to the diagonal timber so that you can see the difference, because in many ways they're almost the same. So the blue one will be exactly the same as this. This will be a diagonal timber outline. So in the first row, again, all I do is insert my pattern threads around my warp pair and check that the ends are fairly even. Over here, I'm going to do another one in this mint colour. Let's do it here. And this is going to be in satin timber. Tabby B. Pattern B. So the first row was only insertion. We're now up to the second row, and these are identical for both the diagonal outline timber and the satin timber. For both of them, you're going to cross your pattern threads in front and take them around the next warp pairs outward. So cross them in front and take them around the next warp pair out. Tabby A. Pattern A. Now we're on the third row. The third row is where they start to be different. From now on, we will not cross in front first when we do the outline, but we will always cross in front first for the satin timber. So for the diagonal outline, you simply go around the next pair in the direction you want your line to go, over and around, over the warp pair and around. But with the satin timber, you need to continue to cross in front first. Just check where they all are. Yes, cross in front and then go around the next warp pair that outlines the shape you're wanting to make, which in this case is just going to be a diamond. So it looks a little bit like a herringbone stitch. When you do it with these large threads, it does look a lot like herringbone. When you're doing it with small threads like the Bhutanese do, it looks more like satin. Tabby B. Pattern B. With the outline, I simply go over and around the next warp pair in the direction I want my line to go. This line's going to the right, over and around the next warp pair. But with my satin timber, I continue to cross in front first and then go around the outside pair, outside warp pair for the shape that I'm creating. Tabby A. And you just continue like that until your shape is as big as you want it to be. With the satin timber, it's generally, you don't go much wider than 5 pairs, otherwise your floats get too long and they catch, because this is used for clothing and in very fine silks. But if you're not using it for clothing, you can go as wide as you like. pattern A, over and around the next warp pair, cross in front and go around the next warp pair outwards. Now we're going to make a diamond, so I'm going to continue weaving and we'll start coming back inwards. Tabby B, pattern B, so now I'm actually wanting my diamond to start coming in again, like in that direction. All I have to remember is that I'm going to go over the next warp pair in the direction I want the line to go. This line I want to go to the right. So I'm going to look at this previous warp pair I used and find the next warp pair to the right. I'm going to take my pattern thread over that warp pair, around and through. You won't get a perfect corner. There's always a little gap. So don't feel like you've done anything wrong, that's just the best you get. On the tiny scale that the Bhutanese do it, it really doesn't matter. So again, you're still crossing in front and crossing around the outside of the shape. My diamond is now going to start getting smaller. So I'm now going around the outside of 4 pairs. You can see that when you do the first row coming inwards on these diamonds, you turn the corner, it's always a very short pattern thread stitch. It doesn't look really great. That's the best we can get. Tabby A, pattern A, next pair inwards, take my pattern thread over and around and through, always over the warp pair. And it looks really strange. It looks like you've done 2 on top of each other, but it's correct. Cross in front and around the outside pairs of the shape we're making. Tabby B, over and around the warp pair, over and around the warp pair, cross in front and then over and around the warp pair, over around the warp pair. Now we're coming to the last row, we're back to Tabby A, so with both of these diamonds I would have taken both the pattern ends around the single pair at the end, but I don't really need to do that. I can just take one around behind, and then this other one would have come around this direction, but because I'm going to finish these pattern ends, I can just take it to the left of that pair and through the tabby shed a little way and out the back of the warp. Same over here. This one would have come around to this way. This one would have come around from this direction and through, which I will do now as I take it through the tabby shed a little way and out the back of the warp. So these don't look very neat yet, but once I've done 2 more picks of ground weft, 2 more tabbies, I'll be able to tug on those ends individually very gently to tighten that up and make it neat. Now I've thrown 2 more picks of ground weft or tabby. I'm going to take the pattern threads from each of the motifs that I just finished and pull on them individually, very gently, to tighten up the end of the pattern on the front. I'll do the same with these mint threads. Individually, just pull on them very gently to tighten up the last threads. Here we have all 5 stitches that are used in Kutira weaving. We have supplementary, horizontal timber, vertical timber. We have diagonal timber woven with 1 pattern thread or with 2 pattern threads simultaneously to make a thicker outline. And we have what I call satin timber, which we wove alongside a diagonal timber diamond.
This brings us to the end of this series of videos on the basics of weaving Kutira. Thank you for weaving with me. I hope to bring you more videos in the future showing you how to use these 5 stitches together to make beautiful Bhutanese brocaded designs. To whet your appetite, you may wish to head over to my Textile Trails website to feast your eyes on sumptuous Kutira festival dresses. Many of the images there are full resolution, so you can double click on them and zoom in to see if you can now identify which stitches were used in different parts of the designs. If you'd like to be notified when new videos become available, subscribe to this Textile Trails YouTube channel, follow Textile Trails on Facebook, or subscribe to my newsletter by clicking on the links below. I'd love to see you again.